These were the final moments before Hindu Bangladeshi garment worker Dipu Chandra was lynched last week in Bangladesh's Mymensingh region. Dipu was lynched following allegations that he had made indecent remarks about Islam, claims which later were found to be without evidence. Dipu was stripped naked after the lynching, tied to a tree and set ablaze. Dipu was handed over to the mob by police personnel along with his floor manager. Hello and welcome to Deep Dive. I'm Asavri Jindal. Leaders and lawmakers across the world have condemned the killing of Dipu Chandra, calling for accountability, protection of religious minorities and an end to the growing unrest in the country. Congressman Raja Krishnamurthy described the killing as a targeted mob attack and urged Bangladeshi authorities to uphold the rule of law. In a statement, Krishnamurthy said that he was appalled by this act of violence. Krishnamurthy said while arrests have been reported, the government must ensure a full and transparent investigation and persecute all those responsible. He also called for urgent steps to protect Hindu communities and other religious minorities. New York State Assembly, in fact, Jennifer Rajkumar also condemned the killing, saying she was deeply disturbed by the continuing violence against Bangladeshi Hindu minorities. Rajkumar said that the killing reflects a troubling pattern of targeted violence against religious minorities, citing data from the Bangladesh Hindu Buddhist Christian Unity Council. She said more than 2,400 incidents of violence against minorities and over 150 cases of temple vandalism were reported between August 2024 and July 2025. The United Nations has also voiced concerns over the violence. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres expressed alarm over the situation. Shiv Majumdar, a conservative member of parliament from Canada, also raised his voice, stating that the targeting Hindu minorities must end. He demanded accountability for the interim government for all targeted attacks and heinous crimes against Hindus in Bangladesh. He further added that thousands of violent incidents have taken place since August 2024. Political turmoil, particularly targeting Hindus and other minority communities. Another member of parliament from Canada, Melissa Landsman, also raised her voice against the atrocities unleashed in Bangladesh targeting the Hindu minority community. She exclaimed that Hindus in Bangladesh have faced escalating, including mob attacks, sexual assault, temple demolitions and forced displacements. Take a listen.
That Hindus in Bangladesh have faced escalating violence, including arson, mob attacks, sexual assault, temple demolitions, and forced displacement. There has been over 2,000 incidents in 2024 alone. I want the petitioners to know that their voices are certainly heard here and that the voices of the oppressed are amplified, and we are going to intervene before it's too late.
The Muhammad Yunus-led Bangladesh interim government condemned the lynching of a Hindu man in Mymensingh city. The Yunus-led government urged all citizens of Bangladesh to resist all forms of mob violence, which it said was committed by a few fringe elements. Exiled Bangladeshi author and human rights activist Taslima Nasreen claimed that Hindu youth Dipu Chandra, who was brutally killed in a mob lynching in Bangladesh, had been falsely accused of blasphemy by a Muslim co-worker at his factory in Mymensingh district. She said the horrific incident unfolded despite Dipu being under police protection. The New York Times reported the killing as a part of rising intolerance in Bangladesh after Sheikh Hasina was removed from power. It has also mentioned that some people even celebrated the killing. However, Western media outlets stayed mostly silent about the murder of Dipu Chandra. There was no strong reaction from CNN, no major coverage by the Washington Post, and no concern shown by The Guardian. For several days, it seemed as if the incident had not happened at all. Only later did the New York Times finally report on the brutal lynching. Even then, the report was framed in a way that softened the seriousness of the crime. Instead of clearly focusing on the killing of a Hindu man by a Muslim mob, the newspaper presented it as a part of a vague and general problem of religious intolerance in South Asia. The headline, "Lynching of a Hindu in Bangladesh fans fear of rising intolerance," suggests that the issue is not specific to Bangladesh or to violence against Hindus, but a part of a wider regional problem. The article, written by Shafi Hasnat and Mujib Mashal, seems to push the idea that all religious groups in South Asia are equally intolerant. By doing this, the report downplays the fact that Dipu Chandra was brutally killed and shifts the focus to a broader narrative. It also argues that Muslims face similar violence in India, suggesting that no single group is responsible and that the entire region is equally at fault. Notably, there was no major statement from global bodies such as the United Nations nor widespread Western condemnation, unlike other incidents in Bangladesh such as Sharif Osman Hadi's death, which drew quicker international response. No prominent public statements or condemnation from MPs in the United Kingdom, the European Parliament, or other major Western nations, including Australia or Germany, have been widely reported so far. Dutch MP Geert Wilders commented critically on the incident via social media, linking it to a broader concern about Islam and the dangers faced by Hindus in Bangladesh and Pakistan. A UK MP, Apasna Begum, referred the lynching in a post calling for accountability and protection for minorities in the context of a broader mob violence in Bangladesh. Amnesty International expressed alarm over the brutal lynching of Dipu Chandra. However, no separate dedicated press release solely focused on Dipu Chandra's case appears on Amnesty International's official website. Dipu Chandra was killed by Islamists in Bangladesh, a country where the Hindu population has fallen sharply from nearly 22% at the time of independence to barely 8% today. Dipu Chandra, a humble factory worker's only misfortune was being born Hindu in Bangladesh. Yet, despite the brutality of his lynching, there has been in fact no global outpouring of grief, no sustained international anger, and no loud demand for strict action against those who killed him. Hindu victims of violence are merely reduced to footnotes. Joining us at this point in time to take this very important conversation forward is Ambassador Veena Sikri, former diplomat. Ma'am, thank you so much for your patience. I'd like to understand from you, if an atrocity as brutal and inhumane as this had occurred in India, wouldn't global leaders and international media have condemned it instantly? Then why is this cold-blooded murder of Dipu Chandra not the top headline across the world?
Well, I hope you will give me some time to speak and not cut me off. I think that it's very important that at least thanks to a lot of efforts from a lot of individuals, the Bangladeshi diaspora and many others, gradually after the period of total ignoring this brutal attempt for more than a week, whereas you saw in sharp contrast the killing of Osman Hadi, who was the political Inkilab Mancho leader, was mourned by the Americans and the Germans and so on, and completely ignored by all of these people completely ignored the absolutely inhuman genocidal murder of Dipu Chandra. Now, I think that this is the starting point of what should build up into a case for genocide against the Muhammad Yunus regime. Because what they have been doing for the last 1 year, 15 months, against the minorities, and not only the Hindus, the Buddhists, the Christians, the Sufis, the Ahmadiyyas, all of them together. All the cases have been documented. It is very well known what has been happening for the last 1 year, and I think this should be presented as a case for genocidal attacks sanctioned by the Muhammad Yunus regime against the minorities of Bangladesh. We know that their effort of the Jamaat-e-Islami is to push out these minorities from Bangladesh, and they're thinking that if they kill them in this brutal manner, it will encourage the people to leave. But the younger generation in Bangladesh, they say no, we are not not going to leave. We are citizens of this country, and it is our right to stay here, and we want to stay here, and we will stay here. We want our rights. So they have made, Chinmoy Das has made a 8-point demand to the Yunus regime. Very simple, just have a minorities ministry, have a fund for the Buddhists and a separate one for the Hindus and the Christians, and make sure that any such brutality is immediately reported. But I think that in this case, the Dipu Chandra Das case, why it is so important to take it up as a genocidal attack is that all the videos are now fully available. This event, absolutely inhuman, medieval killing, was witnessed by hundreds of people who were busy filming it on their videos, on their mobile phones. And this killing, every inch of that killing has been shown. I tell you, it is so cruel that you cannot imagine that 21st century human beings are doing this kind of activity. You know, I think it is absolutely something that should be taken up. I hope the Indian government will pursue it strongly. I hope that all the other names that you have read out in such a long list, that they will join in and pursue it strongly, so that this kind of an incident can never be repeated, either in Bangladesh or anywhere else, because the charge of genocide must be brought. The person was singled out because of his religion. That is the most important point. It is reminiscent of what happened in Pahalgam, when the innocent tourists were singled out because of their religion and killed. And we know that Pakistan was behind that. And Pakistan is now trying to establish a strong command and control structure with Bangladesh, and this is what they are doing. They are bringing their own practices to Bangladesh. Although we know that for the past 15 months, these very same inhuman practices have been followed, and all these minorities, the innocent, the people of Chittagong hill tracts, the Hindus and the Buddhists, and even the Sufis and Ahmadiyas, their not only temples destroyed, but individuals, rapings, lynchings, killings, surrounding them as a mob and forcing them to resign. Hindu primary teachers, Hindu professors, Buddhist professors, all of them being forced to resign, and of course replaced by the choice of Jamaat Islami. And with this, still it is a tribute to the bravery of all the minority communities in Bangladesh, that they are determined to fight back. And that is what we are seeing, the beginning of the fight back now, with the recognition even by the UNSG. But it cannot stop at that. It cannot stop at that. It has to be carried to the next level, which is that a charge has to be now filed against this Yunus regime, who have completely ignored this killing, and who have, despite the absolutely direct videographic evidence of it. And that should be then now collated and taken to all, even an international case, anything can be filed. The Yunus regime should resign on this point. This is absolutely a bestial act that does not call for any kind of leeway at all. You know, on the killing of Osman Hadi, within minutes they called the Indian High Commissioner and said, oh, India is responsible, and the killer has gone there. And we know that yesterday evening, of course, India protested vigorously, and we called in the Bangladesh High Commissioner, but yesterday evening, the Yunus regime was forced to accept that they were wrong. They owe an apology to the Indian government, because they said that there is no evidence that the killer went to India, and we do not know who the killer is. So I think that, this kind of a knee-jerk reaction, and if the action against the minorities is part of an intimidation tactic, part of forcing them to leave, it has already brought a huge blowback, where the people are saying, we're not leaving, we want our rights, and part of their rights is to fight for justice in the killing of Dipu Chandra Das. And you imagine, even his own father says he did not even know that this happened to his son, and he only saw it on Facebook. It is such a tragic case that it should be an example for all time to come to anybody who wants to, try such bestial tactics in this day and age in the 21st century. And then imagine his dead body, they take it and put it on a mast and try to burn it. And the fact that nobody, not Muhammad Yunus, not his advisor, nobody in Bangladesh has said a word. We know the media is completely controlled, so civil society will not be allowed to say a word, because he has taken over all the media houses. He's dismissed all the journalists. In fact, more than 100 or 200 journalists are in jail. They have been in jail for a year, more than a year, charged with murder, charged with all kinds of acts, and no justice at all, not a trial, not bail, no filing of cases, nothing. Just absolute medieval incarceration with no access at all. I think it is high time that the government of India and all others got together and put all these things into one big portfolio of violation of the most precious human rights of the Hindu minorities, of the journalists, of the media, of all other situations that is happening today in Bangladesh. And now even the reaction against the when the human when the when the Home Advisor said that we don't know who it is, the Inkilab Munch, the party to which Usman Hadi belonged, they are now calling for Yunus's resignation, saying, oh, this is not wrong, he's not bothering about the killing of Usman Hadi. So the internal turmoil is so much, but no internal turmoil justifies these kind of killings. No internal turmoil. They're trying to, ban the activities of the Jamaat-e-Islami is trying to ban the activities of the Awami League. They're trying to prevent the Awami League from taking part in the elections, and simultaneously they're conducting they're allowing these kind of acts to take place to intimidate the population into voting for the Jamaat-e-Islami. So this is the tactics, but we should see through it and bring it as a global case of genocide.
Right, absolutely. With that, I'd like to thank you for joining us on the broadcast, sharing your perspectives with us. On that note, a quick short break.